In the small Belgian town of Dist, known for its peaceful atmosphere and high level of safety, a horrific tragedy occurred in 2007 that still haunts the local residents. 18-year-old Anik Vanvonsel, a modest and good-natured girl who excelled in school and had big plans for the future, decided to spend the Friday evening of April 27 with friends at a Catholic party in a country house. This gathering, intended for the spiritual enlightenment of young people of various ages, took place in a joyful and friendly atmosphere. Anik, as always, danced with her friends with a smile on her face until 4 a.m. After the party ended, the girl, preferring to ride a bicycle, set off for home together with her companions. At one of the crossroads in the forest, their paths diverged, and since then, no one had seen Anik. In the morning, the girl's parents, worried about her absence and silence, began searching. Friends said that Anik had left the party at 4 a.m. but had not been in touch since then, which was completely unlike her. The family and friends searched for the missing girl on their own but to no avail. Eventually, the parents turned to the police. Detectives immediately took up the case, dismissing the versions of running away from home and voluntary departure from life. All of Anik's belongings remained at home, and she had not informed anyone about plans to leave her parents. The girl did not have a boyfriend with whom she could have left, did not suffer from depression, and had no conflicts or enemies. The police interrogated the parents, friends, and all the participants of the Catholic party, but none of them aroused suspicion or had useful information. Officers established Anik's usual route home, carefully examining every detail, street, and surveillance camera. Unfortunately, there were no cameras in the forest where the girl disappeared. Detectives suggested that Anik could have become a victim of a crime, as neither she nor her bicycle were found anywhere. Abduction seemed likely, but no one demanded a ransom from the family, which led to grim thoughts. Despite this, hope remained to find the girl alive, and the investigation actively continued. The large-scale search for the missing 18-year-old girl Anik Vanvonsel from the Belgian town of Dist lasted for several days. Not only the police but also hundreds of volunteers, mounted police, search dogs, and helicopters participated in the efforts. Officers questioned local residents near the club and the place where the teenager disappeared, but no one had seen Anik that night. The girl's parents distributed leaflets with her photo, and posters were hung everywhere. They appeared in the media, begging their daughter to return and witnesses to come forward. Several people informed the police about suspicious screams in the forest that night, but no one was seen in the darkness. The lack of evidence complicated the investigation. No traces of a struggle or belongings of the missing girl were found. Detectives tried to track Anik's mobile phone. It turned on and off several times during the night and morning, connecting to cell towers. The police thoroughly searched the areas where the phone was tracked but to no avail. On May 3, 2007, a passerby walking along the canal embankment saw a suspiciously large package in the water. Assuming that Anik's body could be inside, he notified the police. Divers struggled to pull out the extremely heavy package, which indeed contained human remains with 2 bricks for weighting. Identifying the severely decomposed body was not easy, but the forensic expert immediately determined that it was a girl. Dental records confirmed that it was Anik. The autopsy revealed that she died from a blunt force trauma to the head, with a fractured skull. Numerous bruises and signs of rape were found on the body. The brutal nature of the murder frightened everyone. The location where the body was discovered was 16 kilometers from where Anik was last seen, indicating the killer's attempt to conceal the traces of the crime. The investigation faced difficulties. No physical evidence was found. The only clue could be Anik's missing bicycle with possible fingerprints of the attacker. A year later, on August 26, 2008, the bicycle was found 50 kilometers away in Leuven, carefully hidden and repainted. But the criminal had washed away all traces, leaving no fingerprints. It seemed that Anik's tragedy could remain unsolved, but almost 3 years after her disappearance, on January 3, 2010, an emergency call about a fire provided an unexpected turn to the case. On January 3, 2010, an emergency call was received about a burning Opel Corsa car near Disti. Inside the burned-out vehicle, firefighters discovered the bodies of 18-year-old Shana Appeltans in the back seat and the 22-year-old car owner Kevin Pauls in the trunk. The examination showed that the young people died from gunshot wounds long before the fire. The arson was likely intended to destroy evidence. These murders, which occurred after the disappearance of Anik Vanvonsel, frightened local residents. The police began investigating the connection between the victims. It turned out that Kevin, known for his propensity for violence, was dating Shana and was acquainted with Anik. Anik's bicycle was found in Leuven, where Shana lived, which could indicate Kevin's involvement in both crimes. Investigators assumed that the young man had killed Anik, then his girlfriend, set the car on fire, and committed suicide. But the lack of direct evidence and the strange way of committing suicide in the trunk cast doubt on this version. Soon, attention was drawn to another suspect, the couple's 39-year-old neighbor, school teacher Ronald Jansen, who often conflicted with Shana. Despite his exemplary reputation, Jansen was called in for questioning. He denied involvement in the cases and claimed that on the day of Shana and Kevin's murder, he was at home, but no one could confirm his alibi. During the interrogation, Ronald Jansen initially denied involvement in the murders of Shana Appeltans and Kevin Pauls. Regarding conflicts with the deceased couple, he explained that they constantly behaved defiantly and insulted him, so he reprimanded them but did not engage in fights, being a well-mannered person. But the police were alarmed by his testimony. Having obtained a warrant to search Jansen's home, they found a gun hidden in a bag of cat food. The teacher could not explain why he needed a weapon and became nervous. Soon, during a conversation with investigators, Ronald confessed to committing the double murder. According to him, on the evening of January 2, he went out to admire the stars and saw Shana and Kevin arriving home. The couple, as always, began to insult and mock him. Losing his temper, Jansen ran to get 2 guns and 3 canisters of gasoline. When he returned, the neighbors were gone. Ron knocked on their door, and Shana opened it. Threatening with a weapon, he forced the couple to get into the car and drive out of town. Kevin was behind the wheel, and Jansen pointed a gun at him from the front seat. Shana, who was sitting in the back of the car without rear doors, cried, begging to let them go. After driving for half an hour to a deserted place, Ron ordered them to stop and shot Kevin twice in the temple, killing him on the spot. The frightened Shana burst into tears even more, pleading for her life. Jansen promised to let the girl go if she had sexual intercourse with him. Shana agreed. After intimacy, Ron realized he could not leave Shana alive, as she could report to the police about the rape and the murder of her boyfriend. So Jansen cold-bloodedly shot the girl as well. Dropping Kevin's body from the driver's seat, the killer drove closer to home and set the car on fire there to destroy traces. He returned home at 4 a.m. on foot through a field. He washed thoroughly, burned his clothes, and threw the ashes into a ditch. The gun he used for the murder, Ron threw into the river. It was never found. He hid the second gun at home, but it did not match the crime weapon. Jansen admitted that he knew how to avoid justice, so he carefully washed the blood and gunpowder residue from his hands. After these testimonies, the teacher was arrested and charged with the murder of the couple and the rape of Shana Appeltans. Investigators began gathering evidence against him for the trial. Ronald Jansen was born on February 6, 1971, in Bornem, Belgium, into a family of a miner and a cleaner. He was the third of 4 children and grew up in modest conditions, understanding that he could only rely on himself. Ronald Jansen was a diligent student, studied excellently, but due to speech defects, he was mocked by his peers. Once, unable to endure it, he took revenge on the offenders by beating them with a baseball bat. After this incident, the boy was suspended from school, and his mother transferred him to another school. But these were not all of Ron's life difficulties. At home, he suffered from physical and psychological abuse by his father. Due to the fear of returning home, Jansen developed insomnia, which haunted him all his life. At some point, the young man decided, either he would take his own life or kill his tyrant father. He chose the latter. Since Ronald's father had diabetes and gave himself insulin injections, the son replaced the drug with a dangerous substance. The man was saved after accidentally injecting the poison, but he guessed who was behind it. However, he did not go to the police. Instead, he began to abuse and beat Ron even more. Eventually, the young man ran away from home as far as possible. Thanks to his knowledge, Jansen easily entered the university in Hasselt and then transferred to Leuven to the Faculty of Engineering. To support himself during his studies, he saved money and worked odd jobs. In 1993, Ron successfully graduated from the university and began his teaching career in the field of computer science. In his final year, he met an attractive Dutch woman, Natalie, who was 3 years older than him. The young people fell in love and got married 2 years later. For some time, the couple moved frequently due to Natalie's work, but Ron easily found employment as a teacher in new cities. Eventually, they settled in Halle, where Jansen began teaching not only computer science but also mathematics and economics at the university. Intelligent, educated, and pleasant to talk to, he nevertheless had a difficult character, which at the same time attracted people. Ron loved walks in the fresh air, which helped him cope with insomnia. The couple dreamed of a large family. Their first daughter was born in 1998, and the second one 3 years later. But the appearance of children had a negative impact on their marriage. As the family grew, misunderstandings and conflicts between Ron and Natalie became more frequent. The teacher, who already had sleeping problems, now did not get enough sleep at all due to the constant crying of babies. It made him irritable and aggressive, which scared his wife. Eventually, Natalie went to the police, accusing her husband of rape and cruel treatment. Allegedly, Ron gave her sleeping pills and then, when she was helpless, raped her. Jansen denied these accusations, assuring that he gave his wife sedatives and everything happened by mutual consent. The police treated Natalie's words with distrust, so the case was closed. The woman filed for divorce and left with the children, leaving Ron alone. He showed no interest in communicating with his daughters. Instead, neighbors often saw Jansen wandering at night due to insomnia. It seemed strange to them but did not cause particular concern. If the authorities had taken Natalie's statement more seriously, perhaps the tragedies with Anik Vanvonsel and the couple Shana Appeltans and Kevin Pauls could have been prevented. From the collected information, the investigators understood that they were dealing with a complex personality. Ronald was smart and cunning enough to successfully destroy evidence and come out clean. This type of criminal is one of the most difficult. It is extremely hard and sometimes impossible to bring them to justice. So the prosecution had to show extraordinary perseverance. And so it happened, Jansen refused to confess to raping Shana, not wanting his crime to acquire a sexual connotation, which could create problems in prison. Instead, the detainee insisted that he acted in self-defense. To the surprise of the investigators, Ronald Jansen suddenly confessed not only to the murder of Anik Vanvonsel in 2007 but also to 3 cases of rape committed during his studies at the University of Leuven. The police found out that about 20 very similar attacks on girls with rape occurred in the local dormitory from 2001 to 2010. The perpetrator broke in through a window, threatened with a knife, and raped. However, the investigators doubted that Jansen was involved in all these cases. He admitted guilt only in 5 incidents, without naming the names of the victims and the exact dates of the attacks. About Anik's murder, Ron said that she became a random victim. The man claimed that on that night he could not sleep and went to another city, where he met a pretty girl on a bicycle. Blocking Anik's way with his car, he frightened her, tied her hands, and brought her home. At first, Jansen allegedly did not plan to rape or kill the girl, he just wanted her to spend the night next to him in bed, and in the morning, he was going to let her go. But after dawn, Ron had another conflict with his neighbors Shana and Kevin, who shouted his name. Fearing that the captive had memorized this information and would inform the police, Jansen decided to get rid of Anik and rape her at the same time. Having committed the outrage, he hit the girl on the head with a hammer in the bathroom, packed the body in a bag, and threw it into the water. At home, he thoroughly washed everything with detergents, destroying evidence. The police doubted the truthfulness of this story. In their opinion, the motive for the murder was deeper, and the criminal was aware of his intentions from the very beginning. His words about wanting to just spend the night with Anik sounded extremely unconvincing. The public was stunned that such a seemingly decent person as Ronald Jansen was behind these crimes. The defendant's lawyer insisted on a psychiatric examination, hoping to prove his insanity. But experts recognized that despite certain deviations, Jansen was fit to stand trial. Psychiatrists described Ron as a hidden psychopath and an ideal serial killer who acted intelligently, decisively, and deliberately. He started with rapes in the dormitory and then moved on to murders. If not for an accident, Jansen would have continued his bloody crimes for a long time without arousing suspicion. It is quite probable that in reality, he has many more attacks and murders on his account than is known to the investigation. The defendant did not feel any remorse for what he had done, his affable appearance misled those around him. In the press, Ron began to be called the Belgian Ted Bundy. The trial of Jansen began at the end of September 2011. The defense asked to mitigate the punishment, taking into account the impeccable reputation of the accused and his difficult childhood, but the court rejected this petition. The jury found Ron guilty of murders and rapes. Given the high probability of recidivism, he was sentenced to life imprisonment. However, in Belgium, life usually means 15 to 23 years in prison. So Jansen will be able to apply for parole as early as 2026, in 15 years. During the announcement of the verdict, he sat smiling, not at all upset by the court's decision. Ron appeared in court for the second time in September 2012 and was found guilty of 5 proven and admitted rapes in the Leuven dormitory. However, given the already imposed life sentence, the term of serving the punishment remained unchanged. The investigation of probable murders and rapes connected with Jansen continued after the trial. Despite the discovery of similar attacks on young female students of his school and girls who lived nearby, it was not possible to prove Ron's guilt in these cases due to lack of evidence. Relatives of the deceased and other concerned people were outraged by the leniency of the sentence. After all, a person who took at least 3 lives and raped many girls can be released in just 15 years, while his victims have forever lost the chance to live on. That's all for now. Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Give this video a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any future content. Take care and goodbye.